Hey guys, what's up? Yeah, see, boxes. This should tell you why I haven't put up a couple of videos lately. I got work to do. I've been swamped with work for the past few weeks now, and it just doesn't seem to end. Though I actually got a whole, I've gotten a handle on things this week, which is why I'm actually able to make this video, and I got two others that I wanted to quickly get out. Anyway, the reason why I'm doing this is because there's so much that's been happening over the past few weeks and other things I wanted to get out that I just haven't been able to. So I'm going to try to jam as much as I can in here and then just move on with my life. So, and then they're just going to be coming in any order that I feel like that comes to mind that I feel like I can talk about coherently. So, and then after this, I'm going to be recording another video on making computers. So, yeah, I'm trying to fit so much in tonight. Let's hurry up. First thing I want to talk about is my phone. Yeah, probably not what you guys were ever expecting me to talk about on my channel, but there you go, right? Randomness for the win. The reason why I want to talk about my phone is because I'm kind of hoping that some people might give it a chance. I happen to be a fan of HTC. I'm not going to say that all their products are great. Their low-end phones are not exactly the best around, and I just got a message for some reason. Their low-end phones, not the greatest, but then again, you could say that about other companies like Samsung, for instance. And I've seen some pretty crappy phones on the low-end spectrum, but on the high end, they happen to have some really good stuff, from what I've seen. And on the highest end of things is the HTC One. Now, the first HTC model came out last year, and I'm pretty sure it was last year I got my hands on it. And it's actually, nope, sorry, my wife just corrected me. You probably heard her yell. Last December, I had got my hands on the first HTC One. So, basically last year. It was the model M7, and I have to agree with the critics. It was probably the best Android phone that came out that year. I know that a lot of people love the Galaxies, and I'm not saying that the Galaxies are bad phones, but from the way it was constructed to the elegance of its design, the efficiency of its operating system, everything about it was perfect. I loved that freaking phone. And I would still have it with me right now if it wasn't for the fact that I had to switch services. Long story short, Sprint just didn't do it for me. So we're on a family plan with a couple of friends of ours, and we switched services and went over to T-Mobile. And unfortunately, because my earlier HTC One wasn't unlocked, I had to get another phone. As luck would have it, I was able to switch over to the newest model of the HTC One, the M8, which was designed a bit differently. Now, I was a little bit sad that I wasn't able to get, because my HTC One was black, my wife's was blue, so we had, fancy colors and stuff instead of the typical silver one. Now, I was pretty much stuck with the standard gray, but it looks good. So here is the phone, as you can see, and yes, that is a Dark Souls background. What did you expect? It's, once again, it's a nice, thin, elegant-looking phone. It's made out of even more metal than before. That's one thing I really like about it. All right, to those who know me closely, they know it's no secret that I don't really like iPhones all that much. I do think that they're decent phones, but I think that you guys are paying way too much for what you get. I will say, however, that the build quality, at least of the body of iPhones, and it just went fuzzy. The build quality of iPhones is pretty good, save for the screen. I've had a lot of people tell me that, just the screens crack easily. This thing has that same top quality build, 90% metal body, Gorilla Glass. My last phone, I dropped it like crazy, hardly a scratch, especially after I put the case on it. And this thing so far, not a scratch on it whatsoever. The reason why I wanted to talk about this phone a little bit and maybe get some people to think, if they're in the market for getting themselves a new Android phone and they're looking at the Samsung Galaxies, this is not knocking the Galaxy. I think they're pretty good phones too. But if you have the scratch, or you got a decent company that's not going to charge you all that much, consider the HTC One. I really think they're damn good phones for the value. And while I will say that right now there is some contention on whether the latest version of the HTC One can keep up with a lot of the improvements that have been made on a lot of the other phones, the improvements that have been made on this are fantastic. In fact, the only things that I would say that the competition out there has over the HTC One, the latest version, is the camera. Because I've been noticing that some of the other models, particularly the Galaxies, do have better cameras. But even then, the camera on this thing is still pretty good. And to the point where I've actually been able to use this for my job with no problems. I take pictures of the swords I send out for the customers to see, and the picture quality is fantastic. So I've known some people that actually use the camera on here as their main everyday camera. That's how good it is. It's not the best, but it's pretty good. But I'm not getting endorsed by these people, and this is not supposed to be a commercial for them, but I'm just simply saying, considering that last year, even though this was the HTC One was considered hands down the best Android phone, it didn't sell very well. I think part of it was because of marketing, and especially the fact that other companies out there did much better in the marketing department, particularly the Galaxy. It seemed like ads for that thing was everywhere. And even right now, the new Galaxy's coming out, there's tons of ads I'm seeing on YouTube for it, you know, all over the net, TV. HTC always tended to be really quiet with their marketing. They don't really do all that much. So, in fact, it's as my wife just pointed out, it's in their tagline, "Quietly Brilliant," which, they don't really need to say much about how awesome their phones are, but then again, they kind of do, especially in today's market. So I'm just saying, for anybody out there who is getting a new phone and or interested in getting a high-end Android phone, consider this thing. It's really freaking good. Thin, for those who care about such a thing. Good size. I don't really like the really big. There's like the Galaxy Notes. Those things are pretty much like, you might as well get a tablet. The features on the things are awesome, and I have friends of mine who have those phones, and they love them to death, and I think they're really good phones, but do consider these as well, because I really would like to see HTC do good this year. I like the company. Anyway, enough talking about them. Sorry about that, guys. Now I'll talk about something I really didn't want to talk about at all. Okay, the whole GamerGate thing. The only reason why I'm going to be talking about this is because a few people just won't shut the fuck up about it and won't leave me alone about it. I've been getting PMs asking me about, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And I either just don't say anything at all, or I just quickly say, look, I see idiots on both sides, and I leave it at that. That much has not changed. If I decided to be stupid enough to make a video on that topic, it would be so much longer than what this video is going to be, because there's so much I would have to get into to touch on, and to point out the fact that just about everybody involved who seems to be screaming the loudest about it are all fucking being idiots. And I don't care what side, you know, both sides, triple sides, whatever, they're all being fucking stupid. To try to sum up as much as I possibly can about what I think about this without going into too much detail, because I really don't fucking feel like it, here goes. 1, everybody who's talking about this rationally without being idiots have some good points, no matter what side they happen to be on. Not everything they're saying is a good point, but they do have some good points. That's point number 1. Point number 2, no matter how good your point is, or no matter how right you may be, and that is in debate, depending on, no matter what side you're on, harassing a group of people is not a good way to bring about that point. No matter how much you may be right, or no matter how much the person you're harassing may be an asshole, harassing them isn't a good fucking idea. 1, it solves nothing. 2, it makes you look like the bad guy, and thus whatever good points you have will not be heard. And 3, well, it just shows that you're a straight up asshole. So, yeah, it's a good way to lose. Few people are going to want to be on your side. 3, backing up charlatans will not help out whatever particular cause you want to be behind. This is something that I won't say I've had to learn the hard way, because growing up, I've mistrusted a lot of people who promise to offer you the world when it comes to speaking about issues you may care about. But not everybody out there who claims to be championing your cause really gives 2 shits about your cause. Most of the time, a lot of the people who are out there making money, claiming that they are championing your cause, only care about making money off of your cause. And again, I am saying this because I have seen this with other causes. There was, like, for instance, if we're going to be talking about the whole black rights issue or whatever, I have seen, growing up, so many motherfuckers coming out there claiming to be about black power and black rights, and all they really cared about was lining their pockets or worse. I've seen some really fucked up things from people who claim to be about uplifting people or fighting for certain causes. Be very careful who you champion. There may be a reason why certain people are saying this person's an idiot. It may not be because they happen to be the villains you think they are. Just saying. 4. It was 4, right? You know what? Fuck numbers. Again, I don't like talking about this issue, and it's making me my brain's already breaking down. 4. Some people really shot themselves in the foot here. I'm seeing so many people are fucking up over this, or have fucked up, because I think things are beginning to die down. But so many people, ever since this broke out, have been doing some of the dumbest shit. One of those things I can think of, for instance, is all these so-called video game news outlets out there shooting themselves in the foot, trying to hush-hush some of the things that the other sides have been screaming about, whether they happen to be right or not. You do not. I know I could not have been the only person watching this whole thing going, are these people actually insulting the very people who help to give them ad revenue? You don't, after a group of people happen to be yelling grievances out about what they think you may be doing, then say that you people are all assholes and you are no longer a market. Let's see how long you last doing that shit. Let's see how long you last. Not a good fucking move. At all. It's not. In fact, it mirrors, by the way, a move that one of the, I don't even want to get into this. Yeah, that was one of the things that really made me laugh. You do not piss off your target audience. You do not insult your target audience, even if you have a problem with some of the people in the target audience. And yeah, there are some idiots in that target audience who do rightfully need to be pointed out, but to lump the whole group up, not good. And you're wondering why people haven't been going to your websites to check out your news anymore. And lastly, for anybody who wants to try to figure out exactly what is wrong with gaming or what is wrong with gamers, and I don't even want to get into the whole spiel, one word, guys: mainstream. That's the real thing here. It's the fact that gaming went mainstream. When people used to play video games, it used to be a niche market. Only a small segment of people used to play these games, and the mainstream at the time, I'm not into that nerd shit, I'm not into that faggot shit, that weak kid shit. Didn't give a fuck. I remember growing up playing video games, people used to look down on people playing video games. But then suddenly, it became cool to be nerdy. It became cool to be into video games. The PlayStation helped to start that shit. Suddenly it became a machine that more and more people started playing. And suddenly people who before either didn't want to associate themselves with video games, thought that video games were beneath them, or people who were just on the down low but didn't want people to know that they like playing video games, but they played anyway, now all of a sudden they can come out and go, yeah, I got me a PlayStation, I got me an Xbox. And especially later on when the Xbox became, for lack of a bit, some people consider the Xbox to be the bros machine of choice. Suddenly, gaming became mainstream. But the problem is, whenever you bring something mainstream, which means you're opening it up to a wider audience, that means you're bringing the jerks along with it. That does not mean that the thing itself is bad. And this is something that some people need to fucking figure out. It's not the medium itself that's fucked up. It's the people that came into it. You made it go mainstream. So if you made it mainstream, well, guess what? You're bringing all the morons in. It's the same thing with the net. Before, not that many people went to the net. I was around when there were no videos on the internet. There was no ads every freaking where. There was, I was around during the days of freaking Usenet, IRC, and ICQ. Those days. I remember that was a long freaking time ago. 94, 95, 96 is when I was around. The internet today is a different animal. Some things are for the better. Some things are for the worse. One of the things that made it for the worse is as the internet got wider and more people were able to get into it, the morons showed up. And whenever the morons show up, they ruin it for everybody. That's the problem with video games. You can't just simply say, oh, video games itself, it's a fucked up culture. No, the culture itself is a fucked up culture. Don't blame the people who have been playing video games for a long period of time who weren't part of that shit. Because, quite frankly, some of the people, well, I'm not even going to say some, a lot of the freaking people who jumped into video games in the beginning were the very people who are now championing the causes that you think video gaming isn't about. I should know. I'm one of them. Okay? I really feel sorry for the guys out there who have to deal with the fact that just because they happen to have a problem with what one person is saying, they instantly get labeled as part of the jerks. They're the ones who I really feel sorry for right now because they're pointing. We're not the trolls. Yeah, they're not. Now, at the same token, are there a bunch of misogynists and assholes in gaming culture? Yes, there are. But the reason why they're there is because it went mainstream. It's not gaming's fault. Okay? And you can't point at every single last little... Realize once... When you bring in something mainstream, you're bringing all the mainstream problems with it. You open it up to the entire culture, you're bringing the entire culture in it. That's the problem. The sooner people figure that shit out, the better. And that's all I'm going to say about it. Nobody ask me anymore about what I think about this shit because I think they're all fucked and I don't want anything to deal with it. Case closed. Alright. Now that I'm done with that. What was the other thing I want to talk about? There was one more freaking thing that I wanted to mention, and I don't freaking remember what the hell it was. Now I remember what I was going to be talking about. The cultural climate in this country that I live in. I'm really worried about it. I mean, you probably are saying, duh, of course you're worried about it. The economy's still screwed up. We got idiots in government who's screwing things up even more. Yeah, that's a problem, but it's not just that. It just seems that we're getting even more polarized than we already were. And, I mean, just when I think things just can't get any worse with the polarization, it gets worse. To the point where people are now able to say some really screwed up and effed up things on the air without really caring at all. I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys will not be starved for examples of hearing some outrageous shit. You know, it gets, people post it up all the time on Facebook, or they'll like link to it on YouTube or something, like, look what this idiot just said, or look what they said about this group of people, or look what they said about this person, whatever. And it's insane. It's like I'm seeing more and more people who just like either they really don't give a shit about other people other than themselves, or you got people who are completely unwilling to hear other sides of the argument. I mean, it's not like one side has all the freaking answers here. On one hand, yes, certain liberal issues appeal to me, but on the other hand, so many people who are liberal don't know two shits about what gun culture really is like, or what real responsible gun owners look like. You got people who, talk about social justice, but not necessarily about social responsibility. You got people who... It's just all this shit out there. Not everybody, not one group of people has all the answers. Granted, I will admit that I have certain biases on one side, but I at least try to listen to where the other person's coming from. You don't get that much in this country anymore. It's getting worse and worse. And what worries me, and I'm going to admit that I'm probably being idiotic worrying about this, because who knows, I might just be worrying about nothing, but this is like the type of stuff that can cause wars sooner or later. Like when you have this much distrust of each other. I mean, we already have just completely lost faith in government here. I mean, that's... No matter who you are, you've lost faith in government. And we know it's been bought, but no one's really willing to do anything about it, which really frustrates the shit. Well, I shouldn't say nobody. The common person doesn't seem to want to, just say fuck it, enough is enough, and take certain people to task. But it's just, things are getting even more and more stressful. People don't want to see eye to eye. Like the whole gamer thing, it shows how people just are unwilling to see eye to eye on anything. And they're quickly willing to just quick to label somebody something without really seeing where the fuck they're coming from, or if what they're saying has any sort of merit or any particular point. It's just instantly, no, you must be on this side. You must be with this group. And it's everywhere. It's just festering, and it's bothering the shit out of me. Not just because I'm worried about where the climate, where things might be headed because of this behavior, but also because you can't solve anything with this sort of atmosphere. In order to be able to come to terms on anything or to come to a solution on anything, you need to be able to put heads together and figure out with like this person's perspective, that person's perspective, this person's perspective, and so on. Come together, see what you guys are talking about, and then move on from there. Like be able to listen, because the other person might be able to say something that completely counters what you think, and they might have a point, whether you like it or not. You have to accept it in order to be able to find a solution to whatever freaking problem that you're having. And there are a lot of problems that we need solutions for right now that aren't getting solved because people aren't seeing eye to eye on anything. If you can't solve problems and the problems are festering, then shit's gonna fall apart. And that's the last thing I want to see in this country. But I'm not really too sure how to fix that. If I did, I'd be doing it. So, yeah, I just wanted to get that off my chest. I guess that's just... There's nothing else I can say about that other than the fact that that's some shit that I'm worried about. And I would really appreciate if people could, no matter what their issue is, or no matter how right they think that issue is, to just step back for a second and see, why is this person arguing what they're arguing? And don't go for an instant stereotypical knee-jerk answer as to why. There might be something more to it. Like, for instance, somebody had taken a little bit of issue with something I said in one of the first hangouts I had with Scholargram a while back, because of what I felt about, wealthy people in this country and how they act. And he was basically saying that, no, not libertarians, what we asked for, because he was libertarian. And he was like, when we're not trying to make this like a business-run oligarchy where businessmen can do whatever the hell they want. We believe in laws and stuff like that. We just believe in laws that respect the individual. And he was arguing from that standpoint. And I basically want to point out to him, like, yeah, your laws are all nice and all, but my country is right now set up so that business guys are doing whatever the hell they want. They've bought people out in government. They're having their businesses run rampant, fleecing people, putting out dangerous products on the market. Look at what's going on with the internet, for instance, and the monopolies and shit that's going on with that. We have major problems, and this is because these guys are running rampant. And I'm saying, you want to come up with a system that makes it even easier for these jerks to do this shit? But I stepped back and I thought, why would this guy argue this? I don't think this guy's an asshole. Why would he be arguing this? One reason is because sometimes people argue this shit is because they're hoping that one day they'll be able to do this. I call it kind of like, game master syndrome. For those of you who play tabletop RPGs, the players who play under that one abusive GM who likes doing things to really F things up for the players. Like, rocks fall, everybody dies, that sort of abusive stuff. And people complain about GMs like that. But as soon as they get to be GM, they start doing the same shit because now it's their turn. Sometimes people argue for these abusive systems because they want it to be their turn. They think one day it's going to be their turn. But another reason is because they're not really seeing the damage. They're seeing the potential. There's some people out there who argue for these systems because they really like, potentially, a system where any individual can go out there and make their money and grow businesses that can give them wealth and then use that wealth to better the economy and the society that they're in. And we use this to create new jobs and use the money to be a philanthropist and help bring the thing up. Yeah, under, the more ideal circumstances and less selfish people, that would work great. It would work fantastic. I mean, I can see the merits behind a system like, a system that certain libertarians or certain anarcho-capitalists argue for. The problem is, the people we have right now who would benefit off a system like that are not the most ethical or moral people around. All you have to do is look at how businesses operated in this country, and hell, I'd even say in other parts of the industrialized world, for the last 100 years or so. They're not moral people. They do anything they possibly can to get over on the rest, and they don't give a damn about the fact that they're leeching resources off of everybody else, and instead they'll try to find ways to keep it going and even blame the people they're leeching off of for the state that they're in. Until we no longer have tons of people like that, you can't have a system like that. But I can't blame the person for, that's my argument. But at the same time, I'm saying why they would argue for that. It's like, they're seeing the potential. They're seeing the merits of, well, you have good, moral, ethical people with this amount of power, they can do so much good. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. My problem is I'm not seeing enough of those people around. That's why I'm arguing against it. It's, you know, but it's the point that at least I can see where the other person is coming from, and then we can kind of see eye to eye on something. Like, then I can easily tell the person, I see the merits of what you're talking about, and I also have to agree that, for instance, I don't think capitalism is all bad. I don't. I personally think there's a lot of good things about it. It's just that the way it's being used is fucked. That's the problem, and we're trying to fix how it's being used. And I don't think that a system that somebody wants to put in place, which will allow any jerk to just do whatever they want in it unfettered, would solve the problem. It's not going to solve the problem. In fact, history has shown that letting them do what they want only makes things worse. And you can't just simply look at the merits of something and then go, see, the merits are great, so we should do it. Yeah, but see, when we went halfway, when we gave an inch, look at the miles and kilometers that they took. But I'm getting off topic. The main point I'm trying to say is at least see where the other side's coming from. I can at least see where the other guy's coming from, is that he's talking about the merits. And the merits are there. The problem is what happens in practice. But at least you try to see where the other person's coming from. See what they're arguing from. They're not assholes necessarily. Some are, yeah. I've dealt with some. But not all of them are. They're, so at least at the very, try to see why the person's arguing for what they're arguing for, or try to see why someone who, like for instance, if you happen to champion a particular cause and you're championing a particular person who's saying something about the cause, and somebody else goes, I don't agree with that person. I think they're full of shit. Doesn't necessarily mean they're bad people. They might actually have a legitimate reason why they're against it, or they might be seeing something else that you're not seeing because you're too caught up in your own movement and your own rhetoric. Sometimes you have to step outside the rhetoric. I get caught up in it myself, but every now and then I need to step back and gotta think about this shit. It's worth it. It really is. I'd like to see more of that every now and then. This has gone on way longer than I wanted to, and I got another video I need to set up because I want to show you guys how I put computers together for the people who think it's too hard to put a computer together. So that's going to be the next video that you see after this one. But I need to get on with it. So bye. I'm going to finish my food. Bye. And get on to work, and I'll catch you guys later.